Hello, I'm Carla Avila.
And I'm Kopi Harris.
And we are here today on our Magicticity series. And today our topic is on preparation, which is one of my favorite topics.
Yes. And how to make sure that you're prepared. And you want to talk about, why don't you start? You want to talk about content and...
Sure. I think, preparation can take many different forms. And it can be from doing some research on your audience and understanding who you're speaking to. I think that's very important. If you have a sense that it is going to be a very diverse audience, that's one thing. But if you're having, say, a meeting and you have maybe 4 or 5 people coming in, then as much as background as you can do would be very helpful, because that helps you set your mind. It helps you think about the topics that may be important to them. And it also will help you tell your audience that you've thought of them and that you know them. And that's, I think, very important. You've taken the time to do that. Mm-hmm. I think also another point to do is to, and we've spoken about this, which is the postures, right? Mm-hmm. And do the Wonder Woman or Superman posture. Yes, we can do those. But also, one of the things that I did very recently, that I was telling you the other day, mm-hmm. is that I arrived quite early to a presentation that I had to give. One, because I wanted to know where I was going to be presenting, what the room looked like, mm-hmm. what kind of light it had, mm-hmm. where my microphone was going to be. I had slides and where the slides were going to play, what the clicker was like, just to become familiar with things, because it makes sense mm-hmm. to really feel more comfortable when you know where you are and what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yep.
The other thing that I did was I spoke to some of the people in one of the breakout rooms before my presentation to get a sense of what was happening that day.
Yeah.
How did people feel? What were the topics that were most important, and what people wanted to hear from me?
Yeah.
And having those conversations was very good for a number of different reasons, mm-hmm. including also having familiar faces to look at. Mm-hmm. And we recently did another of these recordings on linkage. Mm-hmm. And having the opportunity to link to people that you've spoken to also builds on that connection. Mm-hmm. So preparation, I think, is very important, but you have a ton of tips.
Yeah, well, I love everything that you said, and if I were to summarize or categorize what you've been saying, some of it is preparation and what you do way in advance. And some of this is preparation that you do the day of and actually at the presentation itself. And all of those are so important. One of the things, a study that I had read was talking about those of us who procrastinate. And they were saying, well, preparation, if you are a procrastinator, what do you do? Well, if you're really nervous, it can actually be helpful because it might spur you on to put aside your procrastinating ways and actually think about what it is that you would like to say. But you talked about the audience, and that's so important. I've been working recently with people who have such complicated things that they're trying to describe, tremendous detail, and they're presenting to an audience that isn't familiar with the topics that they're talking about, and yet they need the audience to really understand.
Right.
So we've talked about using simple or straightforward language that isn't very specific to your industry before, but really thinking about your audience and planning out how you're going to convey your ideas. That takes a lot of time and a lot of preparation. And just to review with people, the Wonder Woman pose and the Superman pose, yep. They're your hands on your hips and your chest is out, and if you're standing up, your feet are really in a golf position almost. And think about those superheroes and envision yourself being almost a superhero. And that way you will feel a great deal more confident. There's also some research, and I've heard recently that there might be dispute over this, but if we, as we're preparing, literally walk around and several times a day, we say, I'm excited about this presentation. I'm excited about this presentation. Instead of saying, I'm nervous, right. I'm feeling frightened, I'm anxious, all of the things that you actually are of course feeling. But if you walk around and you convey to yourself, you literally say it out loud, you will start to feel more excited. And when you start to feel excited, you think about the things that can go right instead of the things that can go wrong.
Right.
So when I walk around saying, oh boy, I feel really anxious, I think about all the disasters that can happen. What if all the technology fails? What if somebody's mean to me when I'm presenting? And then I start to feel more and more and more anxious. And then I love that you go and you talk to people before you give your talk, because that is so important. And what you're doing then is you're making sure that the audience is made up of individuals with whom you've already had
Yes.
some connection. So it's not like you against them, where you're standing up on the stage all by yourself and the people in the room are this faceless blob.
Right.
And they become the audience blob. They become more frightening that way.
I think also that is something that may be important is, we'll touch on this I think in another episode, but thinking about the preparation of your presentation, if you have any slides or any materials, right?
Yeah.
And how you prepare for those, because they really need to go in tune with what you're saying, but they also need to be very brief. So thinking about when you prepare, how can you say what you're going to say in the most succinct way, in the most simple way? And that takes time, because you really want to make sure that it's better to say less, but say
Yeah.
it with good content.
Yes.
And that goes for what you say, but also what's on your slides.
That's on your side. And that's a little teaser, because we're
Yes.
going to get into the slides in another
Exactly.
webcast. But I think it might have been Mark Twain, it's been attributed to him, where he said it takes him 5 minutes to prepare an all-day talk,
Yes.
and it takes him all day to prepare a 5-minute talk.
Right.
So being brief and distilling things down, as Carla is saying, to the simplest form possible is
Right.
the best thing to do.
And one last thing I would suggest is also anticipate what you may be asked. And this is also good preparation. It may take you a few more minutes to prepare that,
Yeah.
but if you can think about, okay, what may the audience want to know? Well, may you want to include that. You may want to include that in your speech.
Yeah.
But if there may be some additional questions, maybe some hard questions, think about them before so that you have an idea of what you'd like to answer.
You should actually have a list of every single
Yes.
question that
That's even
audience
better.
could ask.
Yes.
Yeah, and you should take that time. And that's actually where many speakers fail. And that's another teaser, because we're going to talk to you about Q&A and how to be the best at Q&A in another webcast.
Yes.
So how can people be in touch with us?
At contact@magicticity.com, and also through our website. And please email us or write to us or call us, because we'd love to hear if this is helpful to you and what other topics may be useful.
To achieve that magicticity, the magic of being your most authentic self when you present. Thank you.
Thank you.